G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/legal advice video. Now if you love me as much as I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that out of the way, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good legal advice. Now, our first post is by user Mount My Blade, titled "Wife and I had IVF done recently. Possible HIPPA violation." So, a few months ago, my wife and I recently went through IV. The fertility clinic makes it part of their process to test all patients for gonorrhea/chlamydia. No big deal, I guess. Our real issue is that the lab company sent the bill to my wife's workplace. It was addressed to her, but her workplace opened the bill. This was really embarrassing for my wife because the HR lady saw the bill. It only showed a line item for chlamydia/GP amplification. In an attempt to save face, she had to explain our infertility issues, which is hard for her to do. After making some phone calls, it appears the fertility clinic filled the forms out correctly, and the lab sent the bill to the wrong address. When I called them, they apologized and said they'd look into it. They followed up with us by sending a copy of the form the clinic sent in, which was filled out correctly. They claimed that it was the clinic's fault, but the form showed otherwise. We were upset with this, but decided to just move on. That was all a few months ago. Well, today we received the other bill. I guess one for each of us. I don't know why this one took so long. This was, again, sent to my wife's workplace, and again opened. Is this a HIPAA violation? Thanks. Now, our man in red sleeves in the comments says, "Make a HIPAA complaint to the Federal Office of Civil Rights. It's available in web form on their website. They'll evaluate it and potentially do an investigation. Just note this might take a long time because there are a lot, and it may not result in anything. Also, you should know that HIPAA currently provides no compensation for breach victims, so it's just a punitive measure at most. Thank you. We are just going to file the complaint. We weren't looking for any sort of compensation, we just want the lab to realize and own their mistake if it is actually a violation. The online complaint works. Scan a copy of the bill and attach as proof. I filed a complaint against a third-party medical provider for my company contracts with 4 employees. They sent a mass email to patients in the to field instead of blind CC with medical info that all my coworkers could see. The investigation took maybe 5 months, but the government took it seriously and sent someone to their offices to retrain all their staff on compliance and privacy. That is all I wanted, to make sure that it didn't happen to anyone else. If you're really frustrated, you can also talk to your state AG. They are empowered to enforce HIPAA as well. To add to this, just because there is no compensation doesn't mean you should follow through if this happens to you. The penalties can be very steep and will hopefully make them reevaluate their process to prevent this kind of thing from happening again to you or any of their clients. I work in compliance and healthcare, and it is taken very seriously. No one should be subjected to embarrassment or exposure by their healthcare providers. And another comment says, "This is conflicting advice, so just to clarify, the business isn't liable for any kind of violation per DMM 501.1.5.1. An organization at the direction of its president or chief executive may receive mail for any person sent by title or name at its addresses. Interestingly, it may direct to receive mail addressed somewhere else if it is addressed including the organization's name." So, the postal law is not violated, the secretary promptly gave to bill to your wife, so you don't have any claim against the business. As far as the healthcare provider goes, the question will be, did they have authorization to mail it to your wife at the business address? If your wife didn't give them the address, and they just looked up her work address and mailed it to her, it would seem to be a clear violation of HIPAA. But if she listed that as an alternate address, etc., that could imply that it is acceptable to send stuff to her at that address. Thank you for your reply. The IVF clinic filled out the forms for the lab work. The forms have a section for employer info, so they put what information they had. It wasn't an alternative address section. In that case, I think you have a good case. I don't see how that could imply that the information could be sent there. Once the compliance office investigates, I suspect they will find this is not their standard practice and someone just copied the wrong one. Definitely a good thing that you made a complaint so that they can sort it out. And at the top of their post, OP puts, "Edit. Thanks to everyone for their replies. We decided to file a complaint and let the investigating agency decide if there was a violation." And that's not all, guys, because there is an update. Wife and I had IVF done recently, possible HIPAA violation ? Update. My wife and I had put this out of our minds and haven't thought about it in months. However, today we received a letter from the lab that we felt violated HIPAA. They confirmed that there was a HIPAA violation and decided to reimburse us the cost of the lab work. Amazing! They stated they would pass their findings on to the Office for Civil Rights. Thank you all. In related news, our first child is due Tuesday. Congratulations, Mount My Blade. I'm very happy for you. Alright, and now our next post is by user Neighbor Issue U, titled "Neighbor will not stop taking down or destroying mezuzah, New York City." So, my girlfriend and I had recently moved into an apartment together. Right away, our neighbor from a few doors down made it apparent that he was a bit of a character. He professed extreme levels of amazement that we are both women, as if he had never seen a gay couple before, and joined our housewarming party without invitation. We chalked it up to weird older dude stuff and left it. Then it got weird. Our mezuzah was removed from its spot on our outer doorway 3 times. At first I thought I installed it badly, but it was laid kind of neatly against the door. It wouldn't fall flat that way. Finally, I ran into neighbor in the elevator and he told me to stop putting gaudy decorations on our doorway. It's white, the same color of the paint. I told him it was religious and ignored him. I emailed our landlord who replied he would tell him to knock it off. Okay, but on Wednesday the mezuzah was shattered like someone had thrown it, and yesterday the neighbor told us we absolutely had to stop putting it up. My girlfriend and I are very distressed and upset. I'm not sure what we'd need to do here anymore. Is this lawyer stuff? Police? Well, your neighbor is likely trespassing and vandalizing your property, but while you had some evidence, you do not have clear proof of that yet. I will second the suggestion of a video camera pointed at the door to catch them the next time they commit these crimes. I would also immediately file a police report so you have proof that this is a recurring issue. Potentially a hate crime too, given the religious nature of the decoration. But mezuzahs are often on the outer door frame, so I'm not totally sure if it is trespassing. In case you're hesitant about involving the police, the reason you're being told to involve them now is that if things escalate, and I have a feeling they will, you're going to want as official a paper trail as possible. The longer and more official your paper trail, the better off you are. Plus, it's only going to take a few minutes to make the report anyway. Besides what others have said with good advice about police, etc., you should keep reporting this to your landlord. This is religious discrimination/harassment occurring in housing, so your landlord is obligated to do something about it. If you report it to him and he fails to act, you can file a fair housing complaint against your landlord for failing to act properly to prevent and stop religious harassment. Most likely the fastest reacting place to do this would be the New York City Commission on Human Rights. Again, note this is most likely to be against your landlord, not the neighbor, and would be regarding your landlord's failure to act, and in order to make the case, you have to keep reporting this to the landlord so that he has an opportunity to act. I didn't know about it because they never reported it, will be a defense if you do not. Report what is going on to the landlord in writing so that you have evidence you did report it. Best case scenario, the landlord might actually do something about it. So obviously then don't report him for housing discrimination and take care of the problem. And now, update neighbor removing mezuzah. MIT, first, I would like to thank everyone for the good advice. Except for the person who messaged me telling me I wasn't a Jew since I'm a lesbian, you stink. What happened was not very exciting. I again emailed my landlord, telling him that the mezuzah has been destroyed, and that my girlfriend and I were considering filing a police report if this occurred again. I also went over to my neighbor directly, told him exactly what a mezuzah was, what him destroying it meant, and that if it happened again the police would be involved. I don't know if that did the trick or the landlord talked to him again, but it's been up for a week with no issue, and he said sorry when my girlfriend saw him in the laundry room. Don't know if that was directly related to this, but I'll take it. Thanks again for the advice. Just a quick aside, after the post got locked, I got many personal messages telling me to contact the Shomrim. I have been spit on by Shomrim in Williamsburg because I wasn't dressed from or holding hands with my girlfriend, and they have a troubling history regarding cases in which they have beaten black men. I doubt they would help me, and I think people should evaluate if they're truly the best course of action. Alright, and our next post is by user Aggravating Vanilla, titled Blind Furry Sexually Harassing Me at Work in Florida. Because why wouldn't it be Florida? I'm 18 and I work part-time at a Starbucks in Florida, along with another servicing job. I'm a girl and I just finished losing a considerable amount of weight, and I'm receiving attention for the first time in my life, and I'm still not really used to dealing with it. I do know that the way I'm being treated now is very screwed up, but I'm not sure how to handle it. There's a man who started coming in every day, who I've interacted with every shift of mine for the last month. He is at least in his mid-20s, and comes in wearing a tail and making furry jokes very often. He is somehow visually impaired, and he brings in his service animal to guide him, and he makes sexually charged and inappropriate jokes every time that I've interacted with him, regardless of whether I'm making his drink, taking orders, or giving drinks. If I'm not at the counter, he yells inappropriately. The worst example I can think of is him ordering a puppuccino that we offer, and letting his dog start to lick it, and then holding it back to me, for the two favorite female dogs in my life, he says with a giant smile on his face before licking the top himself. It's usually not nearly that bad, but it's pretty similar. He has pulled up inappropriate drawings on his phone and asked if I like doggy style. That specific puppuccino incident was 2 days ago, and his behavior continues to get worse. He does not seem to be severely mentally ill with anything, and I think he's very aware of how uncomfortable he makes me. My manager generally isn't someone who is easy to get along with, and when I approached him with this, he essentially hand-waved away my complaints and told me that he couldn't do anything, and that dealing with this was part of the job. He also explained that he knew about specific guy because one of my coworkers already spoke to him on my behalf without me asking, so I know it's not just me. But he can't do much because the guy is disabled? I know that that's ridiculous, but I'm not sure where I go with it. It's not like I can really argue back. Can anyone help me out with what to do? I currently live alone and I need this job, but this one guy has turned what is otherwise a really fun and nice place to work into a place that makes me sick. Thanks. I would escalate this issue to corporate. I would document each incident with dates and times, including your manager's responses. It is absolutely not part of your job to be sexually harassed like this. When you say document, what do you mean? Record it? No, recording conversations is risky from both a legal as well as a practical perspective. It's also not at all that useful. No one likes listening to recordings. It's time-consuming and they're often incomprehensible to the person listening. What is far more useful is a simple list of dates, times, and notes. Something like this. June 16, 9:20 AM, customer Bob showed me porn on his phone. June 16th, 9:25 AM, told manager Jim what happened, was told to keep serving customer Bob, and so on and so forth. A simple piece of paper is all you need, it's just a log. The only thing I'd add is to use the active voice in all of your notes, for the sake of clarity. June 16th, 9:25 AM, I told manager Jim what happened. Jim told me to keep serving customer Bob. If you say things like I was told, it doesn't specify who told you to do them, which is the important part. Don't leave room for a clever lawyer to call your testimony into question. Not so clever lawyer here, this is good advice. Don't leave us any wiggle room via ambiguity. Not a lawyer, but have been an assistant manager for Starbucks. Don't go to corporate OP, you need to go to your DM and make this known. Your manager doesn't have the power to ban a customer, only the DM can. The manager should have told the DM about the customer, but he sounds untrustworthy. I would also let DM know what you told your manager all of this. Corporate will take 6+ months to fix this, the DM could fix this in a day or a week. And in regards to the dealing with this was part of the job part, no, it's absolutely not. And he's exposing Starbucks, who has already gotten some not so nice attention lately, to a lawsuit with those dismissive commands. There is an employee relations corporate number you can call, right? Talk to them. This is one of those situations that could cut either way. I see 100,000 angry "Starbucks hates blind people" tweets when this guy gets banned, the cops get called, and/or an employee finally gives him a piece of their mind. OP should report it to corporate, keep a written log, and stay professional. If I were a Starbucks employee, I would assume that I was being recorded by every scam artist looking for bad employee behavior, hoping to cash in on Starbucks' recent bad PR. This belief is what's driving the manager's bad choice to not address the problem, but it's not smart. Other people can see this customer being disgusting and might already have stopped, going to that particular Starbucks because of it. OP needs to go to corporate. Yes, agreed. I'm active in the disability community, and a lot of people erroneously think you can't fire, ban, etc. anyone with a disability, i.e., you are required to just let them be incompetent or abusive jerks. This situation, if publicized, may initially attract some folks who expressed that kind of belief, but it is likely to then be picked up by a big-name disability activists who have disabilities and are close to people with disabilities, who will then let people know in no uncertain terms that laws and social norms and so forth absolutely apply to people with disabilities. It might be helpful to email the ADA hotline, which is a neutral organization that gives the same answer to people on either side of a disability issue. They would send you an email saying that of course it is perfectly legal to ban someone with a disability from your business if they are sexually harassing people. The contact information is probably Googleable, and I can also grab it for you when I'm at work later. Edit adata.org/technical assistance. There you go, guys. Hope that one helped. And last one, because this is really good advice by Joan of Arc 5. Not a lawyer, a woman who has dealt with a boatload of sexual harassment. If you can't get corporate to help you, or afraid that it will negatively impact your workplace environment, try the following. Do not laugh at his jokes. Do not say anything to him that does not have to do with coffee. Try the following phrases. That makes me uncomfortable. That is inappropriate. That is sexual harassment. He will deny it. Stick around. Try to say it's funny. Try to say something to give you the emotional labor of making him feel better. Don't. When he does this, say, "Next customer." I'm very sorry that this is happening to you. I am very sorry that men in power in your life are disregarding this. I'm rooting for you to go to corporate like others have suggested here. But if you don't feel comfortable with that course of action, give the above a try. Lastly, people have all kinds of ideas of what you are obligated to do in this situation. You are not obligated to do anything. It's not your fault. At no point have you done anything that constitutes asking for it. If the other people in your life start picking apart your behavior, trying to imply that you are doing something wrong, just remember that you are not. He is a gross, disgusting, horrible human. His disability does not give him a free pass to harass women. P.S. Big congratulations on your weight loss. And now, update, blind furry sexually harassing me at work. Sorry for another update so soon. Not good news. I'm an idiot. Last night I called one of the numbers provided to me and spoke to one of the employee assistance people, who assured me that they'd get back to me. I had a short shift this morning, and he came in right at the start, which he often does. I bought a mini spiral notebook at the dollar store and recorded the time and exactly what he said/did as someone told me to do a few minutes after he left when there was a lull of people coming in, and my manager came and saw and asked me what I was doing. He didn't press me or anything, but I was dumb and told him what was happening and that I was just recording it just in case. Again, I've already told him about that customer, and he basically ignored the problem and told me to do that too. He didn't comment on it at the time beyond saying, "Oh." I woke up from a nap less than an hour ago and just checked my texts, and he sent me a text telling me to not come into work tomorrow and that my services wouldn't be needed anymore. I'm freaking the hell out. I won't be able to find another part-time job that fits my schedule. I won't be able to move out of this fudging town. I feel like I'm going to puke. I'm so ticked at that dude and my manager and myself for not doing the notebook later. I was told to edit this to formally add a question or I wouldn't receive advice. I mean, just what's the best thing to do from here? Thought it was obvious I meant that. Sorry, thanks. You're not an idiot. Your manager is covering their ass. Employment lawyer, pretty much now. He fired you for that? Definitely talk to corporate, pronto. Looks like you have a good case for a juicy lawsuit. They may just offer you severance to go away when you call and then fire the manager. This all appears to be non-standard. You are okay. The manager is trying to cover his ass. Contact an attorney right away who would love this case. Free consultation is also helpful. Potential case of victimization, call your local community legal center or friendly employment lawyer. Also, write a factual time and date chronology of everything that has happened. The line, "I am seeking advice and considering my options," might clarify the manager's mind. Okay, and that's where we stand on that one. They did post another update to this, but they removed it as soon as they posted it, so I was hoping there would be a third part to this series, but I feel like that's a good place to end this story. I'm going to assume that they did call a lawyer and do a pro bono case, which is what any normal person would do. So yeah, that's a shaky ending. It sucks to get fired from a job, but the manager was just trying to cover his ass and he's going to get in a lot of trouble for it. Anyway guys, on to our next post. Alright, now our next one is by user Charlotted House. Titled, Daycare Gave Toddler, 18 months male, medication against their own policy. Toddler had a severe allergic reaction and has been hospitalized. Posting for my friend Laura. Yesterday, Laura got a call from her kid's daycare that her son Henry, 18 months, had been taken to the hospital in an ambulance. They didn't tell her anything else at that time. According to Laura, EMs and the ER docs said Henry could barely breathe, was lethargic and swollen upon arrival. He had been given medication by the daycare employees and had a severe reaction to it. The daycare's story is Henry was stung by a bee and they gave him Benadryl to counteract it, which they have previously told Laura they would never do because administering medication to children is against their policies due to the liability. Furthermore, the pediatric ER doctor could find no evidence of a bee sting or bug bite of any kind anywhere on the child, leading both Laura and I to both wonder if the daycare workers gave Henry the Benadryl because he wouldn't go down for his nap, and the bee story is them trying to cover their asses. So the big question, where does she go from here? The word lawyer is rolling around pretty frequently, but what kind? How would she find one at low cost? Is this actionable in a way that would be of benefit to Laura and Henry in court? Should she be looking into having them pay for his treatment and her missed time from work? She's not looking for a cash grab, but the kid's skin came off his face. They should do something. Edit, location is South Carolina, Spartanburg County, if that matters. Your friend needs to find a personal injury attorney. Note, this is not the typical scenario for those attorneys, so she may need to meet with several attorneys. Almost all of them offer free consultations or initial visits. Virtually all will take the case on contingency, meaning they will front many, if not all of the costs in exchange for a percentage of what she wins. But that does not always mean free, so she needs to make sure she understands how costs will work. That is not my field of law, but the question in those types of cases is 1. If the daycare owed a duty to the child, they did. 2. If the daycare breached that duty, I think they most likely did, but that depends on the additional information and might be disputed. 3. Whether the child suffered an injury or damages, yes. And 4. Whether the injuries were caused by that breach of duty, it was. Lawyers will fight about how much damages are and about the breach of duty. But the thing to do now is to call personal injury attorneys and find one that will A. take the case, and B. your friend believes will do a good job with the case. Haymaker says, report the incident to SC Childcare Licensing. Didn't know that was a thing. Thank you. Yes, a previous daycare of mine briefly lost my child, which happened as I was picking him up. I had done extensive research into complaints filed, etc. But something like this hadn't come up. I filed a complaint with our licensing board and had to meet with social workers. I asked why they wouldn't have been listed as having this complaint, and I was told it is because parents don't know where to file or to file a complaint. It's scary to think that maybe they wouldn't have told me about it if I hadn't walked in on it happening. I didn't want other parents to go through that feeling of unease of leaving your child with people who aren't taking care of her/him. This happened in the middle of the year, and there is still no resolution. FYI, government agencies, underfunded and all. And the Morrigan says, I'm not an SC, but I have worked in daycare centers for over a decade, and I now operate my own. Yes, your friend absolutely should get an attorney, have her check with your area's legal aid for assistance, given her concerns about affording one, or have her find one that offers a free consultation. She may find one willing to take the case with the goal of being paid when she receives a settlement with the daycare. If SC has similar requirements to my state, Ohio, the daycare can't give any medication without the parent providing it and giving written consent. So I agree, it sounds like the daycare is trying to cover their asses. The first center I ever worked at ended up being closed down because an employee told another worker that they had been giving the infants Tylenol to get them to sleep at nap time, and it was reported to the state. That's so abhorrent to me. I worked with school-age kids for 10 years. Programmed through the district, and we were so strict with medication. Everything we had on site was kept in a lockbox, and we couldn't even have it there unless all the paperwork was filled out. We kept a log of all the meds, even if the children weren't there that day. Hell, we had to have a permission slip for sunscreen. I can't even imagine a scenario where an employee could give meds without another adult seeing. Our ratio was 1:14. Infants and toddlers were 1:6, I believe. Edit, upon thinking about it, infants may have been a 1:4 ratio. They were separate from the preschool room. Oh god, sorry, this one's a bit grim, but a child recently died in CT from Benadryl. Unlicensed daycare was drugging the kids to make them sleep. Get that place closed down pronto. And now, update. Daycare gave toddler, 18 months male, medication against their own policies. He had a severe reaction and has been hospitalized. First, thank you to everyone who responded to the original post. Your help has been invaluable. So at this point, the crap has hit the proverbial fan. The doctors did some pretty extensive blood work on Henry upon his admission to the hospital, and the results are in. Henry overdosed on Benadryl. So it's pretty clear this wasn't an accident. There was no bee sting, the daycare loaded up this kid with Benadryl, presumably for nap time in lethal doses for his age/size, and he had a reaction that nearly killed him. The daycare is mum right now and not talking. Laura is actively looking for a lawyer. Last I heard, the hospital was sending Henry home as he's out of danger. He's recovering, but it'll be slow and painful. TLDR, they done screwed up. Alright guys, so that last comment we found really linked to this one, didn't it? Jesus. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought about all the legal advice down in the comments below. If you've got any stories of your own about, daycares not looking after toddlers the right way, I'd love to hear them down in the comments. Anyway guys, I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you've been up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!